Hey everyone, today we'll be diving into the European Parliament. You might ask, what's that for? We already have the doll, so why do we need a European Parliament? Well, let's see what it is, what it does, and why it matters to you.
Just like for national parliament, we also have elections. Every 5 years, European Parliament members are selected, or MEPs. Ireland will have 14 MEPs in the next election in 2024.
The MEPs don't sit together in the European Parliament according to their nationality. There are political groupings and they sit together according to what they believe in. So the European Green MEPs sit together, for example.
So why should you care about the European Parliament? Well, it's because its decisions cover things like environmental policies, trade agreements, and even your internet privacy. When they can't make decisions or they disagree, they vote. The majority wins it, and that's how they come to their choices.
Actually, I've heard about the European legislation that enforces social media to regulate what they can post online. I've also heard about the nature restoration law that is supposed to increase biodiversity in agriculture.
Yeah, well, the European Parliament represents the EU citizens, so it focuses on what matters to citizens of the EU. No legislation can be passed without the European Parliament and the Council of the EU agreeing to it.
The Council of the EU is made up of ministers from each of the 27 countries of the European Union. When working on legislation, the countries fight for the national interest and the European Parliament fight for the EU citizens. In this way, there's balance on every law passed.
So I know there will be 720 MEPs in 2024 that will represent 450 million of the EU citizens. Do they all work in Brussels?
Well, it's a bit complicated. So the committee work happens in Brussels, then the plenary sessions, that's where all the MEPs meet once a month, is in Strasbourg, and then all the paperwork is handled in offices in Luxembourg. It's a bit crazy, as you can see.
Oof, that sounds like a lot of traveling. The MEPs must also speak in one of the 24 working EU languages when speaking in Parliament. If you go visit the European Parliament, you will see a lot of little booths in the gallery where all the translators are.
I can't even start to imagine the combination of languages in the European Union, Irish to Romanian and Estonian to Swedish, etc.
The European Parliament is very much looking for Guelga speakers, so think about that as a career option. Guelga is one of the 2 languages that you can use to work in any of European institutions.
So does the European Parliament matter to you? Well, if you care about issues like migration, digital safety or environmental policies, for example, then these issues are too big to be dealt with by just one country. If you want to raise your voice, you can do this through things like petitions or lobbying your local MEP.
Did you know that you can work or intern for the European Parliament if you're interested in policy making or politics? It's not just about rules and regulations. It's about creating a united Europe for a better future.
Okay, so sometimes it doesn't all work according to plan, but very often it does get there for big or small things. For example, the universal charger for all phones, or the new rules making social media platforms more transparent. So now you know more about the European Parliament and what it does.